Okay, so we're now sitting at the project editor. This is where we do our quote. Now you notice we have the Cokes build and go to security. I'm going to delete these in this particular case. We delete our COD message about the client as well. Okay. A little bit of a tour. We have a part number, column description, cost, markup, unit, and extended. You'll also notice that we've got our auto estimating system turned on, which is going to automatically bring in our labor tied to our devices and calculate the labor for us. We can make changes, of course, along the way. You notice we have a markup of 45%. This can be markup or margin, and our labor rate is $100 an hour. Okay. Part of the functionality of the project editor, one, is we can do textual writing. Thank you for asking DovNet for this proposal. We can also do memo or scope of work, and we can store a scope of work like so I can have different types of scope of work already pre-canned in our system, and then we would just go ahead and select the scope of work like so, and then we can personalize it with this screen here. We also have rich text functionality where you can do color fonts along the way, dashes, and other types of special type font creation. I'm not going to do any of that in this particular demo. We've got other demos that get into that discussion. Okay, come back to our project editor here, and another functionality we can do is we can set up rooms, so I can have TV room, living room, bedroom, etc. for the residential side of things. And then on the commercial side, we can do labels like System 1 or Head End or Nurse Call System, something like that. And we can bold, we can center, and we can even change the pitch, the font size, and then the color as well. So when I go to actually present this on the proposal, you'll see this will come up in green, 14 pitch, with centered and bold. Now, the most important aspect is, if we go back to our diagram for a moment, is the ability that we can do our quote, we can bring in our price list from either DovNet or our equalization like so. So now we can go over here to this guy and I can say part, and if I don't know the manufacturer's ID, we can go over here and press our shop key and we see all our different manufacturers we have in the system like so. And then I can go ahead and put the part number in 42 like so. And again, if I don't know the exact part number, I can shop the part number and pick the part number that I want. Notice the fact that we have some in stock on hand like so, and when this was last updated. Okay, take the item in, set our quantity like so, click, click, click. There's our cost, there's our 40% marked up price, but also notice it's showing us the previous history of this item to this customer. And then once we leave this screen like so, it then presents us with the automatic hours that have been slated for this installation of this device. Now, it's also showing us our availability of stock, and as a quoting person, you may not care about that, but as a warehouse person or a purchasing person, you do. But I can turn that off just as easily as I can have it on like so. Okay? You'll notice that the system is also calculating our pricing. It's adding tax to the system per the tax code of this particular customer. It's also adding a shipping and handling at 2%, being calculated automatically as well. And these can be both on or off as you have your system configured. Okay. Now, we can also continue to add individual items like so, and if I say JBLC Control 4 or something like this, or Bosch or whatever manufacturer we're doing, when we choose the item, if we haven't programmed the time in before, we can go ahead and set the time in like so, and then it will remember the time for you in the next time around. Now, I'm purposely making it not remember it so that it can bring this up for the next demo, like so. Okay? Now, the other functionality that's really powerful about the system is the ability to have packages or kits. So if I were doing a fire system or a nurse call system or something like that, I can come over here and I can say EDWCM1 like so, and it brings up a list of equipment that we can choose as a checklist assembly and choose which items we want. In fact, these are required, so if I try to leave the screen like so, it won't let me out until I make a selection like so, and my batteries, and I can even set the quantity like so, and I don't want this enunciator, but I need this guy, and I've got 50 smoke detectors and 50 strobes, like so. And then I don't want that particular line to come in this particular editor. So here's where we can set these packages up, packages, assemblies, kits, whatever you want to call them. And these are user definable where you can set these up. You can actually take a project, do the quote, and then create the assembly from the quote. Okay. All right, so we're going to load this in, and you see exactly what the system did. Is it just dropped in all these items automatically, brought our cost in, extended the cost, and also brought in the estimated time for these devices. Now, as far as the markup on these devices, markup or margin, depending on how you have this configured, I can globally change the markup or margin like so, and say recalculate. I can either refresh cost or not refresh cost, depends on what we're exactly trying to do. And when I do that, you notice it marked up everything 50%, just like that. Okay. I can also come back and change the markup. Let's say I can only get 33% of that puppy, so I can change it like that, and it'll recalculate per that. Or if I want to set the selling price to be, say, $300, like so, I have that option as well. Okay. Now, if this were a scenario where this were 10 of these guys, and this price really could be a little bit better from the manufacturer, we have the ability to change the cost on the fly. And let's say we got a better price of $95, like so. Now, of course, we don't want to update the inventory system because this is a one-time price. Or maybe we do want to update the system, but I'm not in this particular example. Another thing that's really powerful that we can do is we can keep little notes along the way. So I can do a little note here, PO colon, and the quote number from the vendor like this, Jim, and the date we talked to them, 3/1/18, like so. And so later on, when this goes into production, the purchasing manager will have the quote number and who I talked to and when we got that quote. And automatically, this whole thing will be put on the purchase order automatically. We can also use the document manager down here to keep track documents like a quote from a vendor, for example, through this DMM. We can also keep job notes about the history of discussions with the client from this particular system. Okay, now let's finish our quote off, and we're going to finish the quote off with a labor assembly like this. And I use this labor assembly because it's going to bring in all of our labor hours into our job. The automatic time, pre-wire, device workshop time, etc. But it can also bring project management time and manual hours, for example, 10 hours of drafting, 5 hours of engineering, and 8 hours of documentation. Okay. Also notice if I make this a little bit larger, it can also calculate the maintenance contract and extended warranty automatically based on the configuration of your particular quote. When I'm finished with this guy, I say load assembly like so, and it loads all the items in like so. You'll notice that the items all come in with 0 hours, and I press the auto estimate button right here, click, and it brings our time in just like that. Okay. Also notice here that the project management time is a factor of our installation hours. So this is 59 hours, so we calculated 10% of that figure, and that's a formula that's set up under the auto estimating system where I said 10%, and there it comes in like so. Okay. We can also tell the system to offset this labor here. Maybe this is a more difficult job, so we can say double the time or turn the time off, or we're going to use a subcontractor. So there's lots of things we can do with that. So if I want to say turn the time, double the time, I can say mark it up 100% like so and tally hours. And so that 52 just became 59, became 19 hours just like that. Okay. I can also downgrade the time, come over here to this guy and say, let's make it only 10%. So we're going to say downgrade the thing 90% like so and hit auto estimate. And so it brought it down like that. Okay. And our quote is done just that fast. And this could be, this example, $10,000 quote or $100,000 quote or $1 million quote. I've seen all of those different size quotes in our system. So when we're finished with this guy, we can just simply come down here to print proposal like so, and we choose proposal. Okay. And then we have Crystal Reports, which is a printing tool that you can actually create your own version of a quote with our system. And then with quoting, we've got options. So I can come over here to this guy and I can say, show the part numbers or not show the part numbers, lump sum, turn off the individual prices as per, whether I want to give the customer a shopping list or not. Those can be all changed according to the way you want this configured, like so. And then I can say quote is good for 60 days, and there's my sales title ID and 50% deposit balance due on delivery, whatever you're doing there. And when you finish with this guy, it presents you with the quote, like so. Okay. Now this is our generic out-of-the-box quote. If you bought our system, you get your logo up here, of course, and on all your documents, your proposal, your service ticket, your invoice, your purchase order, etc. And there's your scope of work, like we showed you. There's the font, like I said, would be come out, and then you've got your equipment subtotal, your installation, and there's your maintenance contract calculated automatically. And this can be presented in a different format, depends on how your contract's going. Also notice you've got your shipping and handling, taxes, and quotes down the bottom, like so. So this is one example of a quote. Now I could easily come over here and give you some other examples here. I could choose different proposal formats we've done for various different customers. We also have a version where you can do print with images, and I can tell the system that I want to, if we go back to the top here, for example, I can come over here to this guy, and I can say I want that image to show up on the quote, and I can come down to that one. I want that image to show up on the quote, and I want that one to show up on the quote, like so. And I mark it like this. And so when I come down here to this guy, I can choose another option like this, and I'll say print with images and view, like so. And there's your print proposal with images, just like that. Okay. And then from here, I can email the quote right out of the system. So I can come over here to this guy and say email, and then choose my print options as per the previous shown to you. And then I can choose my email address like this, and then from here hit the send button, and then it would create the output and send it in our email or send it to the appropriate client, just like that. So that's how you generate a proposal. Okay. The last thing I'm going to do is change the status of this job from proposal to waiting answers. So I click over there, and now this quote will be over here under proposals waiting answers. So I click over there, and I say listen status, proposal waiting answers, click, click, and there's our particular quote, just like that. Okay? All right. So that's proposal generation. On the next recording, I'm going to show you how to turn that into a job.